What's going on, you bunch of heathens? Today we are back with more Sabaton. Oh wait, no, today isn't supposed to be Sabaton. Whatever, I'll do another Sabaton video today. I like them. Mainly because I'm seeing your comment. Salutaria. I'm sorry for taking so long. I kept putting it off. We're finally doing Long Live the King. Like, the fact I see 31 likes on it, 8 replies to it. I love you guys. And I'm sorry for taking this long. We're gonna do the English and Swedish version and the history behind it, like we usually do. Yeah. Let's jump straight in. The originals are linked below as always. Ooh. Ooh, I like that. I like the way that sounds. Oh, I really like the intro to this.
Shattered by a bullet in the dark. Rulers come and rulers go, will our kingdom fall apart? Who shall we now turn to when our leaders lost their heart? Lives are lost, but at what cost will the grand dream fall apart?
God, this is very... Trying to think of what I would call it reminiscent of. I want to say reminiscent of like an 80s power ballad, maybe. I'm not exactly sure what I would call it, but it sounds awesome. Ooh, what secret? Oh, dude. That was a dope fucking,
Brought him back to Sweden, where we put him in a chest. Years of war and agony, now the king can finally rest. What will be uncovered from that cold November night? Fredrikshavn, what happened there? Will it ever come to light?
I'm trying to remember, was Careless the one who ended up getting sniped? Because I'm trying to think back to when we were talking about the 30-year war or whatever it was. Was he the one who they were like sieging and he decided to pop his head out and got hit by a sniper? Or am I thinking of a different person? I'm sure we'll figure it out in the history section, but that's just where my mind went. God, when he goes Carolus Rex, like the Carolus Rex part is, I love the Long Live Carolus Rex, sounds amazing. I can't wait to check out the Swedish version. Great fucking solo. Ooh, the step downs and whatnot sound amazing.
For the runner, for the glory, for the men of fought and bled. A soldier from Sweden remembers the dead. Broken breeze so grand, sing of his final stand, long live Carolus. By soldier's hand, back to the powerland, long live Carolus. Broken breeze so grand, sing of his final stand, long live Carolus. Brought by soldier's hand,
Ah, the offset of his voice. Ah, the like offset of his voice right there at the end of him up until the very, very end. He didn't sing. He was just like speaking it. That was interesting. That was an interesting ending. I like that. That had a weird vibe that I kind of jive with. That was cool. That was very cool. All right, we're gonna jump straight into the Swedish version next. All right, here we are with the Swedish version, and I am going to have the lyrics pulled up so that way I can actually see what they're talking about. Yes, they stuck with the intro. God, the like dirty. I don't know, like the. I don't know how else to call it, but like the dirty guitars for the intro sounds amazing. Like I'm sure you guys understand what I mean. Like the guitars sound very like legit metal-ish, but like dirty. They sound, I'm gonna keep saying it, dirty. Sounds awesome. Oh, the song, the actual title, I think is technically in English, The King's Funeral Procession. I don't know, because I'm on Lyrics Translate. I'm looking at it. Konungens Likfärd? Sure, I'm fucking butchering that shit. Then I'm going down, it says King's Funeral Procession, and then the lyrics. I'm assuming that's what it's called, I'm guessing. If it's not, sorry.
Döden stod för dörren denna kalla vinternatt. Bragd om livet stod det skrivet när hans öde hann ifatt. Vem skall oss nu leda i en tid som runnit ut? Mist vår kung, vår sorg är tung när hans styre tagit slut. Kom skottet från hans egen här, tanken tär. 300 år och ingen vet hans dödshemlighet. Död vid rikets rand, drömmen rann ut i sand. Lever Carolus, luren.
Dude, it sounds so good in Swedish.
Lever Carolus Rex.
Sounds, yet again, I really like the Swedish version.
Sverige, inga sånger i vårt led. Bär vår konung hemåt än, över berg och över hed. Hur skall vi då minnas, var han hjälte eller ej? Dårskap eller hjältemod, ja det skall du fråga dig. Kom skottet från
I really like the way I like that. Like, I like the English one too, but I really like that one in the Swedish. Did the shot come from his own men? The thought is tormenting. Like, I don't know why. It's the same concept as the English one. It just sounds really nice in Swedish. Yeah, see, I'd have to look up the... Well, let me look up the Long Live the King Sabaton. Because I need to check it again. Yeah, see, the lyrics are different again. I would assume so, but I wanted to make sure. Death is at the kingdom's edge. The dream turned into sand. Long live Carolus. Carried home by hand back to Svealand. Long live Carolus Rex. Like, it's so good. And yet again, just like 1648, it gives a very different vibe of it, of a darker version of death is at the kingdom's edge. Like, this is bad for the kingdom type shit. And a great solo again. Gosh, such a good solo. Oh, he does it in the Swedish version too. Dude, I'm actually so happy he decided to do, I'm so glad he decided to do the, what would you call it? Like the talking offset at the end as well in Swedish. So that was one part, weirdly enough, that I really enjoyed in the English. I'm really glad he stuck with it. Like, that was a really nice tidbit to stick with. I don't know. I kind of like them about the same. I was going to say, I don't know which one I like more. I like the sound and like the nittier, grittier tone. I think Swedish edges it out very briefly or slightly for me. Yeah, I think Swedish very slightly edges it out because it just sounds so good in Swedish. But at the same time, because I don't know Swedish, I really enjoy being able to understand, like, really listen to the lyrics that I can just hear. But then again, I feel like if I'm able to read something like the lyrics, the translated lyrics, I understand them a bit more. So, I don't know. They're both really fucking good. All right, time to jump into history.
I'm Indy Nidell.
And I'm Joakim from Sabaton.
This is Sabaton History. Karl den Tofte, known popularly as Carolus Rex, was killed by a stray bullet in battle, like pretty much anyone else in war at that time. Who fired that bullet? Well, there's a lot of speculation about that.
And our song, Long Live the King, is about that day and his funeral march home.
Oh, I don't think subtitles are working for English. That sucks.
The military disaster
there
for
it is.
Sweden that was the Battle of Poltava on June 28, 1709, was a crippling wound that put the whole future of Sweden in jeopardy. The Swedish King Karl XII had barely escaped being captured by the victorious Russians and was now having his wounds tended as a guest of the Ottoman Empire at the city of Bender in what is now Moldova. Although he was safe among the Ottomans, Russia's great enemy, he was now also over 700 miles away from his realm, halfway across Europe. That in itself was maybe more damaging to the Swedish Empire than any Poltava could have been. With the absence of their ruler, the Swedish parliament in Stockholm, the
Makes
Riksdag,
sense,
was in a precarious situation. The destruction of the Swedish army at Poltava had encouraged the old enemies of Sweden to renew hostilities. Not only the Russians,
again,
but
makes sense.
Saxony and Denmark as well set their sights on the now struggling Swedish Baltic Empire.
Well, yeah, you kind of pissed them off. You pissed them off before, and now it's just like, oh, well, your army's just kind of got fucked over, so, and you don't have your king there to fucking support you, so yeah, we can raise up arms against you with impunity, pretty much.
The Riksdag did its best to negotiate some sort of peace with its enemies to buy time for the king's return. Karl, however, forbade any further peace negotiations. He believed that he had once brought the empire glory and prestige, and he would do so once again in the future. He also was taking his own sweet time about returning to Sweden. Without a peace deal,
that's a ballsy
Riga
move.
and Dunemunda were soon lost, as were Reval and other Swedish possessions and fortresses in the Baltic states. In November 1709, an army of 16,000 Danes crossed Öresund to attack Sweden itself. Sweden fortunately had on its side the highly capable Governor-General of Skåne, Magnus Stenbock, who not only put together an army of mostly young recruits for the defense of the Swedish homeland, but also used that army to counterattack and drive the Danes out of Sweden. But this
great fucking general then.
Forever. Many felt that Sweden needed a strong statesman, a level-headed sovereign who could assess the nation's real strength and the limits of its power. But it was still an absolute monarchy by constitution, and whatever the Riksdag decided, their decisions could still be overruled weeks or months later as King Karl's orders finally arrived from his self-proclaimed exile. The situation was indeed dire. Sweden was bleeding.
The issue with that is, what if they just... one question for me is, what if they just decide to, pretend they never got got the orders or whatever? Were they just too scared to do that? Like, if they legit thought it was in their better interest to ignore his orders, what would have happened to them? Like, is it a really bad thing something that would have happened to him? I would assume so, but I mean, homie ain't coming home anytime soon.
Dry. Its economy, which was mostly agrarian, was in shambles. The people were starving, carrying the burden of a besieged empire on their overtaxed backs. Famine and bankruptcy crippled the realm. Soldiers could not be raised because there was no equipment for them. Ships could not be repaired.
Equipment, you can't pay them.
There were mortgages on towns and estates, and even the church bells had to be sold just to keep the Swedish state and its defenses alive. Stenbock's victory brought
that
them
is really
breathing room,
bad.
though. And there was even a chance of a neutrality pact, backed by the Holy Roman Emperor, who wanted to prevent the war from spreading into his realms. The Riksdag supported the idea, but Karl would hear nothing of it. In fact, he hated the idea of a neutrality pact, thinking that this would ultimately tie his hands and keep him from reconquering the lands that were rightfully his. Sweden's future, he believed, was destined for greatness, and Karl would not be the king under whose rule the Baltic Empire fell. Putting his trust in God and the righteousness of his cause, the king tore the neutrality pact apart and made it perfectly clear to the Riksdag that the authority of the empire and its armies lay with him and him alone. He still aimed to save everything.
Sorry, hold up. Homie giving me a crazy-ass look. Dude kinda as well, but this dude especially is giving me a crazy fucking look.
With him and him alone. He still aimed to save everything, to renew the offensive against Russia and Sweden's other enemies. There would be peace eventually, but a peace honorable for Sweden.
Damn, bro.
Even the hardcore loyalists in the Riksdag wrote heartfelt letters to their sovereign explaining the impossibility of his demands.
Yeah, you don't have anything for it.
And triumphs was over. Sweden had to come to terms with her enemies, even if it meant giving up territory, or there may well come a day when there was no realm for the king to come home to anymore. Stenbock even went to Bender himself to plead with the king in person, but it was useless. Historians agree.
I'm still just stuck on the fact that this is all happening and he ain't even in Sweden at the time.
That up until 1712, Sweden still had a few chances left to save parts of the realm through clever diplomacy. There was an offer by the Prussian King Frederick I for Karl to lead a combined army from Prussia, Sweden, and Saxony against the Russians. But even that offer was refused by Karl, not wanting to be a puppet for others. The Swedish king was deeply disillusioned by decades of broken promises and betrayals by the other great powers. Instead, he clung to a belief in his personal destiny and a God-given mission that was his from birth. However, in an age of ruthless Staatsräson, putting the security of the state, whatever the form of government, first, by any means necessary, that was a tragedy in itself. In 1713, Magnus Stenbock and 11,000 men were forced to capitulate to an overwhelming force of a Russian, Danish, Saxon coalition. Sweden had now lost all influence in the courts of Europe.
I'm like legit stunned at what he's saying.
Fatalistic mood swept over the Riksdag as the continental positions were basically lost. And at this point, even they were pretty much ready to revolt against Karl and the absolutist constitution if it meant saving Sweden from disaster.
Okay, so they just hadn't really reached that point yet, what I was talking about.
A parliamentary future instead of facing the dangers of a revolution. But this liberal future could only begin after Karl was no more. In the face of this possible revolt, Karl finally came home to Sweden. Despite the burdens he had put on his people, the common folk still praised their beloved king in the hope that now everything would...
Oh, so that's... So, okay. Is this whole album's Careless Rex? That's where we heard about him getting sniped. I don't think they really mentioned it in that song or the history portion of that one. But yeah, so that's where I heard it from. Got it. Hey, that makes sense then. Kind of surprised that they didn't bring it up that it's kind of unknown who shot him, unless I completely am blanking that part of the video.
Finally turn out for the better. However, the king had no intentions of remaining in Sweden. Instead, he immediately ordered an army of 20,000 men raised and prepared to continue to make war. Talks of peace, neutrality must cease at once. He would take the fight to the enemy.
Come on.
Which was by now a coalition of Denmark, Russia, Prussia, Poland, Saxony, and Hanover, because why not Hanover too? With his typical confidence, unshakable belief in God,
you really pissed everyone off, huh?
Karl set out to save Sweden by a demonstration of power, but one that it could hardly afford. Great triumph.
That's kind of a cool picture
to be found, and instead there were just more years of fruitless campaigning. In late 1718, Karl and his troops marched towards Danish strongholds in southern Norway. It was already past October, and his troops suffered from the harsh weather and the hardships of the journey.
That is bleak.
Hundreds were dying of disease as the siege of the fortress at Fredriksten at Fredrikshald began. The king himself did not shy away from danger, though, and shared the burden of his troops. He slept in the field with them, kept watch in the trenches, and even led his troops into the breach of the outer walls. By November 30th, the Swedish trenches had been dug up to the final bastion of the fortress. And just a musket shot away, the king and his officers inspected the battlefield by night. The Danish defenders constantly lit up the night, trying to pick off sappers. Again and again, Karl was seen climbing the trenches to look over the edge for any sign of activity inside the bastion, to the dismay of his concerned officers.
This is exactly what I remember hearing about, because they kept telling him, get the fuck down, you're gonna get killed.
Musket balls and cannonballs have little respect for a king, one of them said, as the king once more put his head over the top. Suddenly, a thud was heard as if a stone were hitting the earth. The king's head sunk down on his chest. "Lord Jesus, the king is shot," the officers cried out from the trenches. A piece of metal had pierced Karl's left temple, punching through his head and coming out the other side. The king was dead in an instant.
Wait, they actually recovered the fucking round? Holy shit.
And his reign of 21 years came to an end. And with the king's death, so too did the constant wars finally come to an end. The king's body was brought back to Sweden, to a nation that had suffered dearly under the costs of war. With his death, the dreams of the great Swedish Empire vanished, but peace finally returned to the Swedish people. Who or what exactly had killed the king that day is still a mystery. Some suspected a canister shot from the fortress walls. Others presumed a musket shot. Some said he was shot on purpose by one of his own by mistake or treachery. There was an investigation, and several liberal politicians were even tried and executed, but hard evidence for an assassination has never been discovered. To this day,
but they still executed
later,
them?
The mystery remains. The mummified body of Karl XII has been exhumed and analyzed 3 times since his death.
Oh, holy shit.
But there is no...
That is a hell of a fucking wound. Holy fuck.
No answer
God
to the
damn.
question of who or what killed the king.
Rollers. Carolus Rex.
Okay, now this is going back
Such
a lot
a
further
good
than most
chant.
Sabaton songs, right?
Yes, we're talking about the Swedish Empire in those days.
Yeah.
And this song is quite different in that sense that it was actually the one that inspired us to do the album Konungens Likfärd in Swedish, actually.
So this was the first one that you...
Yeah, I mean, when starting to write the music, I remember it so clearly. I had this idea of this painting, the Funeral March, I think it's called.
Oh yeah, I know the painting. No, funny thing.
That is a
when
cool
I
painting.
first moved to Sweden, and you could take Swedish classes through the government. Like the first or second day of it, they started telling us a little Swedish history. We learned about this painting literally the first or second day there in school. So that's what inspired you for this song.
Yes,
it is a pretty cool painting.
Picture in the mind, or in my mind when I was writing the main riff, and that sort of became the main chorus of the song. And for some, natural reasons, though the words that came out of my head were Swedish, so I sang the chorus in Swedish.
Makes
on
sense.
The pre-production, and then we listened to it, and everybody's like, "Oh, that's awesome! Let's do the whole album in Swedish." And that seemed like a great idea.
It was a great idea.
Yeah, and
yeah,
so
it was.
Realize you had to write the lyrics twice, and you have to record with all the choirs and everything.
Twice.
Time planned for only doing it in one language.
Right, because you were not quite as big then as you are now.
No, and let's just say there was tumultuous times.
Hey, but you got it done.
Everything from the recording.
And it was very much worth it.
Band members, quite a few at that time as well. So I don't remember that recording very fondly, and that's usually a good sign.
But it turned out to be great, because it is cool that you did the whole album you did in both languages, as it turned out.
Yeah, and it was
Now,
very
question,
fucking
though.
good.
When, as you said, this was the first song, and you were inspired by the painting and write this. Was it already planned to do a whole album about Swedish history, or was it just,
No, we actually had the plan. Let's do something about the Swedish Empire in those 100 years. And I just had to start somewhere, and that painting came into my mind, and that's the way it went, I guess.
Now, did
not
you
a
learn
bad
lot of
place
this
to start.
in school when you were a kid? I mean, did they teach a lot of Swedish history to young Swedes, or did they when you were younger?
Obviously, this is a big part of the Swedish, education system of, in history. Every nation has its own history, and that's one of the things I love about traveling and touring, because, things that are so, obvious to all Swedes are unheard of in, let's say, Brazil, and vice versa. So
Honestly, I agree with them a lot on that. That is one big reason why I haven't traveled in a while, but that's one reason why I love traveling. That's why I love learning about history in general, is just everything is so packed full of so much history. like from the smallest nations to the biggest ones. It is so interesting to just learn about all of it.
Yeah, because then think of the things you do, right? Smoking snakes, and Last Dying Breath, Panzerkampf. I mean, these all mean a lot to different.
Oh yeah, and it's sometimes thanks to some of you guys, fans, who have been giving us books and sending us emails. A good, I'd say, probably 30, 40, 50% of some albums, especially Coat of Arms and Heroes, were inspired by you guys. So.
Really
that
cool.
is awesome.
So keep sending them in. All right, well, that is it for Long Live the King, but we will see you next time on Sabaton History.
God, it really didn't feel like that fucking long. It did not feel like half an hour.
All right, everyone. As we said earlier, that's it for today. And we'd like you all to become Patreons, but obviously, some of you don't want to, some of you can't afford it, which is okay too. But you know what? We'd like it if you could help us out anyway, and that is through the magic of sharing this on other social media. Click subscribe, click on the notification, and
liked it, already subbed.
Because that also helps too.
Go.
And if you can afford,
if you can afford it, go support them. And if you can't or don't want to, go support the actual video. They fucking deserve it. They put so much work into it. Go support them.
Or don't want to become a Patreon, that's okay too. But we'd like you to help us keep this show running, because this is something we've been, dreaming about doing for years.
It is super fun.
Until next time, click there. Time Goes in World War II. Check them out, and see you soon.
Yeah. See you guys soon. That so fucking good. So good. Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe. Go check out the original videos. They fucking deserve it. Until next time, you guys take care of yourselves. See ya.